I think it's easier to believe in God than it is not to believe in God. I think not believing in God is harder because there's just so much.
Sorry, I thought she was wearing a panda suit outfit. Normally, I'm not like to break.
Yeah, panda suit.
Do I have to get up and run? Would you mind if I recorded it?
No, you can go ahead and do that. It's fine.
I'm Ty. It's nice to meet you.
Ty, I'm Tim. Glad to meet you, brother.
Tim, nice to meet you, man. So yeah, like I said, just have a belief where any two people can have a conversation for 5 minutes. Is there anything that you strongly believe is true? Something that motivates you? Something you're certain about?
Something I'm certain about.
Yeah. The more absolute or the more confident you are, the better.
I don't know. I guess I believe in God, so that would be the thing I'm the most certain about.
Okay, keep it open. You want to talk about God? Talk about God. That's a heavy topic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, no, I was like, God, that's the one thing it's one of those things you don't bring up, that in politics.
So yeah, one of the big things that I do with this project is just it's a hobby that I got to show that you can literally talk about anything, and I'm just here to have like a positive conversation. It's not an argument or anything like that.
All right.
Do you mind if we talk about God? Normally
we can. That's fine.
Normally, whatever the topic is, I just generally kind of like challenge. If you said you like potato chips, I would have been like, so have you tried pretzels? Like, it's that sort of thing.
Yeah. I understand.
Would you mind if I had that kind of conversation?
Oh, yeah, it's totally fine.
The big God?
Yeah.
Start on the timer. Okay, so what made you or how confident are you that a God exists, and what God are we talking about?
That's an excellent question. The God I'm talking about is the Christian God.
Okay.
You know? So I believe in Jesus, and he's the Son of God.
Is it any kind of particular sect of Christianity, Baptist, Protestant?
I was raised Southern Baptist.
Baptist.
I don't necessarily. I don't think you have to be Southern Baptist or anything like that. I believe that you just need to believe in God and follow His word.
Okay. Okay. So how confident are you that this God exists?
I would say.
From like a scale of 0 to 100, zero all doubt.
All doubt.
100%, zero questions.
This is awful.
Don't
I'm
even
say it,
yeah.
But I'd say 90%.
90%,
because I feel like I'm a very realistic person. You know, you got to have. There's doubts in everything. I'm never 100% on anything. So
I love that attitude
because there has to be doubts. You know, because I haven't personally met him and sat down and had a conversation with him. So
if you did meet him and sit down and have a conversation with him, would that take you to a higher confidence? Would you say? Like if you could like,
I think it'd make me to like 95%. Because you know, there's always there's always good questions because I always like to see the other person's side of side of things, side of the argument.
Okay.
Because like. You know, who made him? Where'd he come from?
Whoa,
yeah, right.
Yeah,
those are deep questions.
Yeah, it is. These are really deep. I'm enjoying this.
Right.
So let me ask you a question. 90%. That's still pretty high up there.
That's pretty high. Yeah.
What got you to that high confidence?
What got me there is just my personal experiences.
Okay.
And plus, you know, of course, I mean, I think 50% of it was just me growing up in that situation, that environment.
Sure.
The other part is just like I said, it's my personal experiences, things that I've been involved in and stuff that have gotten me there, and you know that's why I'm 90%. I'm fairly confident.
Do you think if you had a different set of personal experiences, you would arrive at a different God?
Well, yeah. I mean, if I was, honestly,
say we grew up in India,
if
I'd
be
you had
Hindu,
parents that believed in Vishnu, or something like that.
Yeah.
Would that mean that you would believe? Would you be telling me about how you're 90% confident that Vishnu exists at this moment?
Well, I wouldn't say 90%, but I'd probably be at least 50 or 60 or 70.
You'd be pretty high up there. Okay.
I think where you're brought up at does have a major role in what you believe.
Okay.
Now that being said, I'm not 100% sure that. You know, there's not just one God, and different people call him different names.
Ah, I see what
you're saying.
You see
what I'm saying?
Okay.
Now, I think there's some crazy stuff out there, and like Wiccans and stuff like that. People, I don't know about that. But,
okay, so
but I could see. Go on. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, feel free to continue to talk. But I was saying, I'm kind of interested in the methodology that you use to come to one God over other gods. It seems like you do have some bias towards certain proposed gods, and then are cool with others because you think it's just different people calling them.
Right.
What's the distinction, or what are you using to grade? Well, that's a real god, but people are just calling it a different name, and that's just nonsense.
That's an excellent question. Now, I'm going to say something, and I could be 100% wrong, which I've been wrong before. So no, well, if you read the Bible, I feel like it describes what's happened since the beginning of time.
Okay.
Now, is it 100% literal? No, I don't believe that. But because there's some people that think the Earth is 5,000 years old.
Yeah.
But
some people are gracious to give it 6,000.
Oh yeah, crazy, right? No, but I mean, I feel like if you read the Bible in the way it's like Genesis and how everything happened, I mean, it's kind of basically like how it happened. You know, it's not 100% like, oh, in 7 days, man was created, but the earth was created first, then you had waters on the earth, then God created the animals, and then he created men. Okay. And that's kind of what happened. Oh. Which, when someone, that's just one part of the story, but, when you add up a bunch of little parts, and it kind of describes how everything kind of evolved.
What confirmed that was how it happened for you to say that was the Bible conferring with that story? What's the other thing that you're looking at to confirm that?
I'm just saying, like, from what I've learned from science, because first the earth was made, then, eventually the earth cooled down and there was water on the planet. Then after that, I mean, this took billions of years, or millions of years and billions of years. Yeah. And then finally we had, basic life. Sure. Then eventually humans came around. And so I think just using certain parts of the Bible, it kind of describes what happened. But, when you're trying to tell us to human 30,000, or not 30,000, but 10,000 years ago.
Yeah, it could be a little muddled.
Yeah, it's going to get muddled, and you have to down it. You have to dummy it down for them. Because these cats are they're just out here in this field.
How so? You had mentioned that personal experience is what got you to the belief that a God, but you don't specifically mean, I guess, the Christian God. Like, if it turned out that science was able to show that a different God exists, would you be fine with that and just say, hey, I've already developed the habit of saying science discovered something, and I looked in my holy book and it seems like that's what it was trying to talk to. What if it wasn't your holy book that had the most accurate depiction of what science said, and it was someone else? Would you then move to that religion?
I'd be open to that, yeah.
Okay.
But I think there's enough proof in the Bible that I think it's that one.
I see.
And also, I mean, heck, every religion's got its creation story, and they're all basically the same, and that's what leads me to the fact that I think we're all talking about the same God. Okay. It's just got mixed up. Yeah.
Do you think personal experience is a reliable way to come to a true conclusion?
Yes and no. Okay. Because you have people that are mentally sick, and they could see they could see something and take it the wrong way, and I think that happens to even people that aren't mentally sick. They just see something and they misinterpret it. Yeah.
Then is it possible to have a personal experience that leads you to a conclusion, and for that conclusion to actually not be true?
Could you say that one more time?
Could I have a personal experience that leads me to a conclusion that's false?
Oh yeah, people do it all the time.
Okay. Is there anything else that's getting you to that high confidence value? Because it sounds like if personal experience is getting you to such a high confidence, but you know that personal experience could be right or wrong.
Right. But
what's actually getting you to that 90%?
Well, it's like I said, it's kind of like what I grew up with. Yeah. Then the other part is like what I've learned, from like reading the Bible and then comparing it to what science has taught me.
Would you say that's more important than your upbringing? Because if I think you told me if you had been brought by Indian people, you would believe in a different God.
Right.
Would you say your learning of the holy book that you have and your understanding of science, those two things coming together?
Yeah.
Not to put words in your mouth.
No. I think that's a good point. Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it more, yeah. I'd say it's probably 35% of what I was brought up in, 35% is what I've read. So that's about 70%, and I'd say another 20% would probably be my personal experiences. Okay. And it's the accumulation of them, too. I'm 34 years old. I got one foot in the grave there, so,
Don't say that. Yeah. I'm 32. I haven't gotten there yet, but I don't want to think about it like that. Jeez.
Right, yeah. No.
You're still young, sprightly. We got the best of our years ahead of us.
Right.
I'm wondering, so do you think that science is a more reliable way to come to conclusions, or is this method where you have 35% on personal experience, 35% on upbringing, and 20% on whatever else? Is that more reliable than science?
I think
just using science straight out.
Yeah, I think I personally believe in anything that you do, you can't have all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. You need to get all your resources and make an informed decision. You can't just base everything off of one thing. You can't base everything just off your personal experiences. You can't base all your you can't base something off just your past. Your upbringing. You have to reach out. That doesn't sound right, but no, you just have to take everything for account, and that's what I try to do. It's just in everything.
What would it take for you to see that you were wrong? Would you be able to recognize what that looks like?
Yeah, I think I would, but I think just like any person, it would take longer than it should.
What would it look like?
What would it look like?
Yeah. If you were wrong and this God did not exist, what would that look like?
It would look like my first thought, and this is going to be funny, is have you ever seen what's that movie called? I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, basically, God, what's it called? It's the Alien movie.
Oh, I love alien movies. All right, Independence Day?
No,
what do you want?
It's Alien. Prometheus.
It's Prometheus?
Yes, it's the planet was seeded by aliens.
That's not even the best alien movie, but I'll let that continue.
But that's my thought process. That's what I was thinking. It's
things bursting out of people's chests?
No,
what are we talking about?
If aliens came down and they're like, oh yeah, we're just coming back to check on y'all. We see this planet 4 billion years or 3 billion years ago.
Sure.
We're just checking up on you, seeing how everything's going. I'm like, well, shit. That's our God. They're the ones who made us. So that's what it would take for me to totally, oh, I was totally wrong. Now, that's not exactly the question you're asking for.
I guess not really, but I think it is good to at least start with that as a watermark and maybe see, is there anything less extreme that would be extreme. Oh, no, that was the thing that it would take for me to be at least, not necessarily change your position, because I'm not here to change your position. We're just trying to reflect on belief. But what would knock you down a couple of percent on that confidence? So that maybe even if you still have the same confidence, maybe you're 85% confident now instead of 90%.
Well, I'll tell you what, I used to be higher in my confidence level, and I'll tell you what has brought me back some is just, I probably used to be a 95% or maybe even a little higher, but just looking at how, talking about the Bible.
Yeah.
There's literally 100 different versions of it.
Yes.
And
even around right now.
Yes. Yeah. And each version you can read it, interpret it differently.
Sure.
There's for instance, I don't know if you've but yeah, I know you're familiar with the mark of the beast, right? Well, so if you read in the old in the King James version of the Bible, it says that it is in your hand or in your forehead. And the other version, like the New King James version, which is the one I like the most. Okay. And but it says it's on. So now 100 years ago, 50 years ago, it'd make more sense if it was on it, right?
Right.
But the original saying was it was in.
But really,
and now it makes more sense if it was in.
But truly, not to get into semantics here, but that's transcribed from ancient Hebrew. Who knew what they were talking about?
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of where it's kind of lost me a little bit because you're right. Hebrew and Adam, for instance, Adam. Yeah. The original language that meant men. It didn't mean Adam. Yeah. Oh, you're Adam. No, it really meant.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's things like that, and then
wouldn't you want to use a reliable method to determine whether or not that was true or not true?
Right. Yeah.
So is basing this off of methods that can be demonstrably wrong, or maybe wrong or right, and maybe it takes an alien invasion for you to realize that you're wrong. Right. Does that get you to a point where you can justify yourself at a 90% confidence level?
Say again.
So if you're 90% confident, it'd be cool if you had a 90% correct all the time method. Right. But it doesn't sound like that is the methods that you guys presented. Doesn't sound like they were that confident, because I think we both agree that upbringing, you believe whatever you brought up to. Your personal experience, that could be right, that could be wrong. Who knows? Maybe it takes an alien invasion to change your mind. Right. But who knows? Right. If you're right or wrong. But science did say yes, it is really reliable, but it doesn't really have a comment on whether a God exists or doesn't exist.
Right.
I don't think there's a science detector that's being sold
Correct.
on Amazon that we can buy. And
Not yet.
Not yet. Which would be nice.
Right.
Which would be nice.
Right.
It would definitely raise our confidence. But till then, we don't have that. So science isn't saying anything. Personal experience is unjustified.
Right.
Upbringing is like, well, you just believe whatever you want. What's getting to that 90%?
Well, like I said, it's the combination of everything.
Really?
You know?
If I took spoiled milk, rotten, fruits, and wet sugar and mixed it up in a milkshake, do I get a perfect milkshake? Like, I think what you put into the belief is what you're getting out, right? So, like, if you have really unreliable methods and you're putting them together, how do you get a reliable conclusion?
It's like that's an excellent question. It's the sum is greater than its parts.
But what you put into it is what you get out. Like, if I put 4 flat tires on my car, will I be able to drive to work tomorrow? Like,
you could get further than what you could without tires.
But if it's important to us to believe true things, right? When we want to have those 4 good tires, or at least inspect the tires ahead of time,
right?
What are you using to inspect the belief to get you to that 90% confidence?
Oh, it's just just daily things that happen. I mean, when we learn something new, scientifically speaking, if it jives with what I believe, if it doesn't, and I have to take that into account. And then if they come out with something that says that, I don't know, that just makes it more unlikely that there's a God. Yeah, it'll bring me down some.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm open. I'm pretty open.
I don't know. I don't know if science can ever get to the point, and this is just me pontificating on my point.
Right.
Feel free to challenge me on anything.
No,
but I don't think science can ever get to the point where it says a God does not exist definitively.
Right.
I think because of that, the question then remains like, what did convince you that a God exists? Like, are people better off believing until they're proven wrong? Or should they start believing when they have enough evidence to believe that's the case?
That is a very good point. I would say, I think it depends on what you're talking about specifically.
Let's talk about your God specifically.
Like my God. Okay, I think it's best to believe first, and then you can always. I don't know. That's a good question. I think it's best to believe first, and then just continuously think about it. It's just like anything else that you're going to think about or you're going to believe in. You always have to continuously think about it. Is there something better out there? Am I thinking about this the wrong way? Could I be wrong? You just always have to analyze it and just determine if that's.
Do you think that's better than withholding belief until you have a good evidence? Do you think your method of I'll believe it until I'm proven wrong is better, or with regard to your God, is better than I'm just going to withhold belief until I have a good reason to believe?
Well,
to save myself from believing in something that may not actually exist.
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, I think that's how everyone is actually. When just originally, like, you don't come out of the womb believing in God.
It's true.
So
you were convinced down the road.
Yeah, you're convinced eventually down the road.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking about that. Yeah. So I mean.
So what convinced you?
I think it's just being around, the people I was raised around, I was brought up around. Convinced me, and they just convinced me of it.
If you were,
and since I've gotten older, you always question it. You always have to question everything.
Do you think if you were brought up by people who didn't believe in God, you would not believe in a God right now?
I don't know. I don't know, honestly, because there's.
Would it be any different from being raised by Indians who believed in Vishnu and you thinking Vishnu was the actual God?
No, I think if I was brought up by Hindus, that
the chances of you being Hindu would be probably strong.
Oh yeah, I think so.
And if you were brought up by non-believers,
I think now see, that's the thing. Like, I think it's easier to believe in God than it is not to believe in God. I think not believing in God is harder because there's just so much.
Sorry, I thought she was wearing a panda suit outfit. Normally, I not like to break contact. You're getting really deep, and I'm loving this conversation.
No, that's all good.
Like, I was like, something's out of the corner of my eye. Is that a panda suit?
Yeah, panda suit.
Do I have to get up and run? I take you with me, but yeah.
Yeah,
right.
No, that'd be cool.
All right, sorry.
No, it's sorry.
So you were saying it's easier to believe
in God
than not believe in God.
Right.
Why do you think that?
Well, I think it's just the human nature that, I mean, I hate to say it, but the world's a scary place, and you always want to have that belief that someone is always watching out for you. You always want that blanket, that security blanket. And I think...
Does that feeling make the belief true?
I'd say so. I mean, to a
Really?
certain extent.
So,
I mean, even like to a certain extent. Like, now, would it be 90% true? No, but would it be 30% true? I mean, just imagine, like when you were a little kid, you were scared of the dark.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you overcome that?
I thought that was like a monster in the dark or something.
Oh, yeah. You had to come up with something to protect you from it.
Superman's there to protect me.
Yeah, right?
That's my go-to. I love Superman.
Hey, you can't beat Superman.
You can't beat Superman.
No.
Superman's unbeatable.
Right,
but
right.
not the superhero movie version of Superman.
Right.
I mean like the original comic book, faster than a speeding,
right.
stronger than a locomotive,
Right.
can leap over a building and sing about. Classic. I'm thinking though, like if I had a coin, right, and I flip the coin, catch it, and it's not a trick coin, but it's like it's either heads or tails.
Right.
I caught it.
50-50.
I don't know if it's heads or tails. You know if it's heads or tails?
Right.
This coin? Do you know?
No clue.
All right. So if someone comes to the table and says, "I'm very scared," I'd be very scared if that coin was heads.
Right.
So therefore, it must be tails.
Right.
Because it would terrify me the other way.
Right.
It's my human nature to believe that it's heads.
Right.
Does that make this heads? He might be right, but like, is that even a reliable way to come to the conclusion?
Is it reliable? No, but I think that's. I mean, I think if you how's it? You know, it's kind of like the cat. Yeah, it's alive.
Oh, Schrodinger's cat?
Yeah, Schrodinger's cat. Yeah, it's alive. Even though you don't know, but it makes it, true to a certain extent. I don't know if that makes sense. Like the coin. I mean, the coin is.
Yeah, I like the coin. Yeah.
It's heads.
It could be heads.
And when the thing is, we could never show it and just tell people it's heads.
Yeah.
And I bet you $100 we could get more than 50% of the people to agree with us.
Yeah, but does that agreement make it true? Like, does the populace agreeing on one thing because of their human nature make the coin actually be heads?
Absolutely no, but I don't know.
Is there
if everyone agrees on something, I mean, is it true? I don't know.
Okay.
That's a deep question.
Yeah. I just one last question then.
Yeah,
if you're heading out.
No.
Is there any more question that's more important to you than whether or not this God exists?
No.
And I guess this is my follow-up last question. Sorry about it. But if this is, in fact, the most important question to you, shouldn't you have the most reliable way of coming to that conclusion? And why settle for anything less?
You're right. You have to have the most reliable way to figure it out, but what's the most reliable way to know something that big,
Yeah, when you don't know the answer, like I said, I flip that coin, I catch it, it's on the back of my hand. I don't have enough information to come to a conclusion. There's a chance that I don't know, like as you said and I said, isn't just an out or an option, but is actually the best answer until we have enough conclusive evidence.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's a really uncomfortable answer. But it's actually a really
it's a good
valid
question.
answer.
Yeah, it's a really good question.
Would I don't know be a better answer with regard to the existence of this God than I believe it, but I'm waiting to be until I'm proven wrong by science, which isn't capable of proving it wrong in the first place?
Yeah. Now it's a good question. Now, for instance, on the coin, that's the best answer. But then you with God and gods. I mean, with any religion.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I don't know. Isn't necessarily the best. It's not the answer. You can't give that answer.
Why not?
Because in these religions that you have to be like, I believe in it. That's part of it. You have to believe in them.
Why do you have to?
That's just part of the thing, the part of the bit, that's part of the Kool-Aid, brother. You gotta drink it,
Sorry.
No, it's all right. It's just how it's. You have to believe in them and follow their teachings.
What does that say about the religion that won't allow you to have a position where you're just like, oh, well, if I have to buy the whole
you gotta drink the Kool-Aid,
before I can even inspect anything.
Right.
Does that say something more about the religion than it does about the actual conclusion that they're reaching? Let's say there is. Let's say without a doubt, 100% there is a God. This God does exist, but in order for you to pick the right one, you have to go wholesale into a specific religion, and you can't question the tenets, you can't question how they reach their philosophies and prophets.
Well, that's part of the reason I'm only 90%, because there's Like you got some Pentecostals believe that you got to be Pentecostal.
Yeah.
Mormons believe there's only 127,000 that are going into heaven, which I'm just like,
Latter-day Saints.
Yeah, or something. Yeah.
Seventh-day Advents can't work on Sunday, etc. They all have their own little thing.
No, I like that. Not working on Sunday. That'd be sweet. You know,
sure.
Sitting at the house, chilling.
I think their day is Saturday, but or something. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
It's the seventh day. Saturday's the seventh.
But even
day.
if you're going outside of Abrahamic religions, like you're going to
Yeah.
the Bhagavad Gita, and you're reading about Vishnu and Shiva and their relations with each other, you have to believe that there's castes or however they.
Yeah, I don't know how they do that. So,
yeah. So like, it's not necessarily a to each his own, because some people have very different owns, but because of that. Because there's so many people who are very confident those true, and I bet you I can probably find a 90% confident Hindu, a 90% confident Mormon.
Oh, yeah.
Can they all be right?
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. I think that I could see that we all believe in the same God. He's just called different things.
But there are some gods who are fundamentally different than the Abrahamic God,
right?
Or people who use faith, for example, to believe that there's no God, who claim absolutely 100% no God exists.
Right.
And those people I put in the same boats as the people who say 100% a God does exist, at least from my perspective.
Right.
Can a person who believes 100% that a God doesn't exist and a person who believes a God does exist, both to the same absolute certainty, both be correct?
Say that one more time. Someone who believes in God.
A person who believes in God and a person who believes there is no God. Can they both be correct at the same time?
I don't think so, no.
Right. So if they're using, a question would be then, like, what method are they using to come to their conclusion, right? And is it reliable or is it not reliable?
Right. So let's talk about the person who doesn't believe in God at all.
Okay, yeah.
So, I mean, they're probably going to use, things that have happened to them in their life.
Sure, yeah. They'll probably say the way they're brought up, personal experiences.
Yeah, personal experiences. And then on top of that, they're going to look at science.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And so, because some people look at science and they're just like, I don't know, they're just like, oh, well, we're just particles. And, see,
that person's using the exact same methods that you're using,
right,
and coming to the exact opposite conclusion,
right,
and you guys can't both be correct,
right.
So what can I, as the guy in the middle who doesn't know anything,
right, yeah, you're just trying to learn.
I'm just trying to learn, like, how do I figure out which one of you guys is right? What should I be paying attention to?
Right, and see, I just see, me personally, I look at science as what, like, that's how God does his thing, like, so, okay, I don't know if you bake or not.
I love baking. Yeah.
You really?
Yeah.
I love eating baking. So.
Oh, you said bacon or baking?
Oh, baking, like baking. I'm sorry, like cooking.
Baking. Yeah, I love cooking. Yeah,
cooking,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm totally into it.
So, like, okay,
that's a cute thought.
So I imagine it as if like science is like the ingredients, like it's the cooking part.
Sure.
And
your wallet's on the ground, if you know it or not.
Holy crap! My wallet?
Somebody's wallet. I assume.
Dude, that's my wallet. Thank
awesome.
you so much.
There you go.
Great God. Thank you very much.
So
see you, doggy.
I was saying, or what I was thinking is that we're just the people in the shop when everything's said and done.
Okay.
Right now, we're just looking at the pastries. We don't know exactly. We know how we know what's in the cupcake. So. Does that make sense at all? So God's the baker. He's using the ingredients to put us together. He made like the elements.
Sure.
And he's put all this stuff together.
Yeah.
And I see him as like like a watchmaker or something like that. In regards to like the universe. Like the Earth revolves around the sun so many times.
Are you saying like the complexity of the universe
Yes.
is an indication to you that it was intelligently designed?
Yeah,
or like made by God?
Yeah, to a certain extent, because if you, for instance, like if you have a watchmaker or a clockmaker, they're very intricate pieces of work, and they can make a watch or a clock and wind it up, and they're going to tell you, okay, in so many days, this watch is going to stop.
Sure.
Okay. Now, if me or you look at this watch and try to make a watch like this, we couldn't do it, but we can have an idea of how it works. But we couldn't do that. So, and that's how I see like the complexity of the universe is he's the same thing as a watchmaker. He's just on a much higher scale than we are.
Can I throw something at you?
Yeah.
If I had a light bulb that took 1,000 steps, I designed a light bulb that takes 1,000 steps to screw into a hole.
Right.
Versus a light bulb that takes one step to screw into a hole.
Right.
Which light bulb's better designed?
Well, I mean, if you're just looking at that one aspect,
It does the exact same thing. Both light bulbs do the
Right.
exact same thing.
I would say the one that takes one screw. But
Wouldn't you say then that simplicity is actually the hallmark of design rather than complexity? Why would you look at something that's very complex and say that had to have been better designed than something that's far more simple?
well, it just depends on the application you're looking at it in. Like, for instance, like the light bulb that only takes one screw. Do you have little kids around? I mean, or do you have someone who could reach up there and unscrew it?
Yeah.
And who doesn't need to unscrew it?
Yeah.
Where, the 1,000 screws, I mean, if you have someone who could potentially unscrew it and you need that light bulb to be in there, you see what I'm saying?
Would a simple fail-safe to protect kids from light bulbs be better than a very complicated, overly convoluted, highly complex fail-safe?
Yes, it would in that regards, but
Okay.
here's the thing. Like,
I wonder. So I was just saying. I think we got to the foundation of the belief really is that your God exists. I was just kind of like I was really interested in the complexity argument because, from my perspective, it seems like people value simplicity in things. We like smaller phones. We like faster cars. We like things that take up less energy. We like clothes that are made from simpler fabrics through assembly lines. Complexity has never been a thing that we looked at and said, yeah, that's proof of something really amazing. Complexity has always been something we try to stay away from.
Right.
So when we look at the complexity of the world, it's really surprising that we always point to existence of a God or proof of that.
Right. Well, two things. First of all, you're right. People do like the more simple things.
Yeah.
But, like...
as far as design goes.
So you have a watch on.
I sure do.
That's a pretty complex watch.
It's a very complex watch.
But
I would love for it to be simpler.
Really?
Yeah. Why would I want this to be any more complicated than it is? It's hard enough for me to just check the weather on this thing.
Right.
I got to take 4 taps. If I could just do it in a simple way, that'd be great.
I actually used to sell watches.
Really?
Okay. Higher end watches.
Nice.
And the more complicated the watch is, the more expensive it is, and the more people would want it. And so that's why I was using the watch thing. But also, I was going to say back to the complexity of it all is that it's I would say it's simply complex because everything's complex, but it's kind of done in such a way. It's just you do it one time, it's set, and it's just like it's just, for the lack of better words, it's like a clock. It'll just keep running and running and running.
Do you think that observation's a really good way for you to come to 100% or 90% confidence that your God exists? Do you think anyone else can point to the same thing and say that their God exists, or point to the same thing and say that this is proof that no God exists?
And that's why I'm at 90%, because we, for instance, we can both look here at this tree back here. You can see the leaves blowing or shaking on it. I could say it's the wind. Someone could be like, "Oh, it's just the tree moving." Okay. We could come to. We're human. It's human nature to come to. Two people can come to two totally different opinions about something.
Sure.
By looking at the same set of data, same thing.
Because we live in a world like that, do you think anyone's justified, or at least better, or in a good situation by just saying, I don't know which of you guys are correct. I'll wait until there's enough evidence for me to convince me that one of you is correct, and until then my position's just I don't know, and I'll wait until I don't think
that's a bad position to be in. I think it's relatively smart. And honestly, with 90%, sure. I mean, that's still kind of saying I don't know.
Really?
Isn't it?
I don't know. I think 90% is pretty high. I got to be honest with you.
I'm pretty sure. That's what I mean.
I would say 50% is the I don't know. Yeah, I would say 50% is the I don't know.
Well, but I think
90% is the I do know.
And I think it's different variations of I don't know. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's this.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay. That sounds, not putting words in your mouth, but that doesn't sound as strong as 90%. That sounds maybe like 70s, 80s. No, I don't care about numbers.
See, we can't even agree on what.
Yeah, like I said,
that's how it is.
I don't care about numbers.
See, and that's why I think 100% is 100%.
100%. I'm never changing.
Never change.
I don't need any more information for the rest of my life.
Right.
But 90%, you are keeping the doors open just a little bit.
Oh yeah. The door's always open.
Okay, Tim, would you mind if I just did a quick summary before?
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
So it sounded like you're 90% confident that God exists. You were basing off of personal experience and the way how you're brought up, but we came to the conclusion that maybe that's not the most foolproof method to come into a belief.
Right.
But you are open, and in fact, you even mentioned some things that would actually change your mind. And I thought that was pretty awesome. some of the proofs that you also demonstrated was like the complexity of the world and like the watchmaker argument as proofs that your God exists. But it seems like there's ways that you can value simplicity over complexity, at least with regard to certain things.
Right.
It'd be cool if we could think about this maybe a little bit more, and if I ever see you again, this would be a wonderful conversation.
Yeah, sounds good, brother.
Tim, wonderful conversation.
Hey, nice meeting you, man.
Thank you, man.
Ty?
I'm Ty. It's nice
Ty.
to meet you. Yeah.
I was thinking about that the entire time. I was like, damn, I think it's his name Ty.
What'd you think of the conversation? Was it cool?
No,
Didn't
it was
want to
cool,
step
yeah.
on anything.
No, it was cool. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. I had a good time.
It'd be better if there was like a beer or something out here. But I mean, normally it's, when you have conversations like this or politics, you have to have a beer.
Yeah.
So it was good, man. Nice
Cool.
meeting you.
Nice meeting you
Is
too,
this
Tim.
for school or something? Or
No, it's just a
little
personal
project?
hobby. Yeah, I really believe that even people with like really strong different beliefs or whatever, there's a way to have the conversation where it's positive and where people learn things from it. Yeah.
I travel a lot.
Yeah?
And I just got back from Europe.
Okay.
Holy shit, man. I'm telling you.
Where in Europe? Because I spent like a year and a half there.
No way, really?
In Sweden.
Oh, I haven't. I went to Sweden like 3 years ago.
Really? Where?
Yeah, I went to